I thought he was.
Okay. Well, we're gonna have to open the meeting because we advertised it for 5 o'clock. But this is just the, two candles over the counter, please.
Did I sign everything?
I think so. Oh, I gotta sign these. So we're doing the administrative business by signing these checks, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Andrew, did you want to put that on the agenda about talking about internet?
I actually was gonna bring that up, but I didn't know
Okay,
if
you
it has
can
to be
do
on or not.
public comments.
Okay.
I just didn't know if you wanted to, well, it's too late.
Yeah, no, you already have the agenda, so yeah, I can talk to you on this
All
one.
right. I just double checked to make sure I didn't have an email from Palmer, but I don't have one, so.
I'll be here.
We opened at 5:01, I said.
Oh, you already did?
Yeah.
And part of the administrative business is signing these checks?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess I would say the first hour is supposed to be dedicated to things that would not be controversial. Even a little bit.
Very unusual for Palmer to leave.
So, Andrew, your paddle forks that you're looking for,
Mm.
so do you have the pins that clamp them down like that, or are they pins underneath the bucket?
There's sort of, there's like hooks on the top and then there's pins on the bottom.
Do the pins go straight down through like that, or do they go in from the sides?
In from the sides. So pin that goes through the actual,
Mine won't work because mine are like skid steer quick connect ones.
no, definitely not.
So a cheaper avenue for you, depending on how much you use them. They make the ones that screw on your bucket.
No,
They're kind of a pain in the butt.
I don't think they have the lift capacity of what. So I have a 3,500 pound lift capacity on my truck, on my loader. The one I'm looking at technically has a 4,500 pound lift capacity, so it's more than enough. But I
Well,
wanted
those are the.
something completely
items
separate.
that-
Because if I use something that clipped on, then my bucket is way heavier than
Linen?
that frame.
I'll look around for you, I know a bunch of people.
I might just order it online, to be honest. But about $600 or $700 though. So
I was hoping I get 3 sets of them.
Are you coming to tonight's meeting? Oh, okay. It's, no, 5 o'clock. Yeah. All right, don't rush too fast. All right, bye-bye. Did you question Emma?
Yes, I was, my HEB file,
Yes.
can I get that back,
Sure.
please?
Actually, yeah.
I need to have you take a look at something. I don't know if you're gonna stay till the end or not, but if you're not, fuel tank in my truck. I need to get your opinion on something.
Uh-oh.
what the June 4th meeting was about?
No. No.
Yeah, it was,
I just put it all together.
Hold on a second.
it was disciplinary action.
I didn't know if I wanted that.
I've got all the minutes, for the most part, at my house on computer. Practice,
Those are not electronic.
not on electronic, huh? Who attended the meeting?
Me, you, Omer, Morgan.
This guy here is phenomenal about
Let me get this
having
back to
Okay.
you.
notes of his own
I
on
get this.
different meetings, so, I'll inquire of him as far as,
So I will tell you that Tanya was not at the meeting that night. She was not the one that took minutes, and she was not at the meeting.
remember who took minutes then?
Well,
I wanna say Martha Trot took minutes at one of those meetings.
Martha Trot took minutes at the public meeting,
Okay.
but nobody knows.
Yeah,
who's
the one on the
took minutes at
Oh, that would have come.
Whether she did or not, I don't know. She doesn't remember if she took them at the non-public, but she does not have any records of non-public meetings.
Didn't even touch
Hi, Omer Ahern.
Ronnie Hash.
Excuse me?
Ronnie Hash.
Ronnie Hash.
Met you before.
Forgive me.
It's okay.
Did you sign in?
No, I didn't.
They'd like you to sign in, so we know. Okay.
Is it required?
No, we just want to know who was here. Okay.
You're only required to sign the roster if you intend to speak. Then they'll ask who you are. Mostly to verify a resident. I sent a copy, I think I put it in the email, I sent a copy of all of the November and December minutes to Palmer as well. All I've done with them is change FMs to Muzzy, PM to road agent, that kind of thing.
Hand those over to Palmer's.
George, did you recommend that we not close that?
I looked at, I couldn't, what I thought I found, I couldn't find anything more about it, about the dump closure. Yeah, I couldn't find anything else about it.
Couldn't find what?
I was trying to see if there was something that said you didn't keep, supposed to keep so much available.
No, you don't need, no, you can observe out anytime you want. The most crucial thing about a capital reserve fund is when they're set up with a real clearly defined purpose. And the money should only be used for that purpose. I can tell you right away that the capital reserve was set up for the Wentworth Warren Ambulance Service to buy a new ambulance. By authority of the Attorney General's office, that money was turned over to the general fund of the Wentworth Warren Ambulance Service without regards to the original intent and purpose. So they don't always do things right either. at that particular time, the Wentworth Warren ambulance service was crippled and needed every resuscitation device they could get. I think they've done pretty good since then.
I'm getting there.
Evening.
Francis, do you,
Most profound apologies. I hope
Ah.
you never have to do that again.
I thought they'd be calling me instead, not you, Tom.
I know it's happened before.
I'm the one that's forgetful.
you know how much money that the Bridge Trust Fund has in it? You don't have to go grab it right now, I was just curious.
I'm gonna tell you,
Bridges.
between 125 and 150,000.
Yeah, I think close to 150.
Now, you wanna know something? We don't need that warrant article in there,
And where?
in the warrant articles.
Is it expendable trust?
Pretty sure.
So if it's if it's an expendable trust, you don't need it.
I think it's wrong to not let the people in town know. Have you written your report for the,
I did write it and I gave Linda a copy and I also gave her an electronic copy that she could edit as needed.
you might wanna put in there that the intent is this year to, pave Red Oak Hill. Because here's how it's going, you're not gonna like this. Money is raised and appropriated and put into a capital reserve fund. It is raised, gotta get it somewhere.
Yep.
It is appropriated, that's your authority to spend.
Mhm.
When the capital reserve fund was set up, the authority to spend was vested, in this case, with the selectmen. Sometimes the authority to spend is invested with town still. You put it in the capital reserve, but you can't spend it without a vote of the town. The difference between, expendable trust and the one that's not expendable. Then, when you decide to use it, you've already raised the money. You've already got the authority to spend when it was raised because it was put into a trust fund where the selectmen were authorized to spend it. So we got everything we need. We got the money and we've got the authority to spend. We don't need anything beyond that. I kind of think that when you're spending $135,000, you should be clear to the public what you're gonna be doing in the immediate future. And so I'm gonna suggest maybe you put it in your, report. A line that says we intend to do, repaving of Red Oak Hill this year, so that, they see it there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think that warrant article belongs in there now, the more I think of it. If it were a capital reserve fund, pure and simple capital reserve, where you have to spend, you have to get the people's permission to spend it, then the warrant article would be necessary. But there'll be one less warrant article. And I gave a copy of all these warrant articles to Linda now, so she's the caretaker. And the last page is nothing but a law, an RSA having to do with the disabled veterans. That whole page can be taken right out. I just kept it there so that I'd have a clear knowledge of what the disabled veterans law was.
Well, this can probably all be discussed at the budget hearing, right?
Yeah,
I mean, for the most part.
you don't know how many are gonna show up. Again, the public at large is spending $135,000, as many should know what's going on as possible. What do you think, Jeff? Put me on the spot.
That's fine.
Have you called the meeting to order, is that what?
I have called it to order. We're right now just signing some, paycheck, payroll, invoices, and I haven't started going down the agenda yet, all right?
Just thought it started.
Everybody got a copy of the agenda?
Mm-hmm.
I went back through this and I did not find the health trust authorized user agreement.
Second, it's the first thing we're gonna talk.
Well, I mixed them all up, I think.
Do you want me to put them back in order?
No,
Go right onto the minutes.
was it one page?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And I think just
Now,
one person has to
I
sign.
read this and
It's just authorization to get into the portal and add people, change people.
am I correct that this is making you the authorized contact person in this office?
Yes.
Okay. I understand that. Now, does that mean that our minutes should reflect that we have authorized you as the CEO?
No, I'm not the CEO. You are that on the bottom. It just gives
Okay.
me access to their portal
Okay,
so that I can make changes, they can send me the new rates,
okay.
things like that. You are the person, did I put a little thing to sign down there?
She did, it's gone, but that,
Oh, it's just one person that needs to sign, and it should be you.
how we doing?
Oh,
I want to address that, that's going to make, it possible for Linda to, access the health trust database.
Not a database, just a portal to get in and
Okay. And
administer.
it needs a signature, so I need a motion to authorize somebody on the board.
can we make it in this part of the meeting, or do we have to make it in the
Do
other
you,
part
do
of
you
the
need a
meeting?
motion for that? I don't think you need a motion.
I don't think you do. It's just.
Personally, I mean, I,
Need a motion for just about everything you do, really.
Want to see, John? No, I can move over. No, you're good. Thanks, Paul.
We'll do it in the open meeting, I guess.
I'm assuming that we're doing this because you're new on the, as an administrative assistant, correct?
Yeah, we won't get any, yes, yes. If there's anything that comes up where they need any information, I can't get into their system. It doesn't authorize me to do anything.
What we'll be doing is making it possible for you to gather information when it's necessary.
Yes, and to report any kind of wages or anything that they require.
Okay, there's an error here on the second part.
Jeff, you got a minute? I'll talk to you outside
What?
for a second.
Time is
Nothing, nothing
here.
here.
Yeah.
There's nothing here, it's gonna be brought up. I just
It
want to
says
talk to you
remove it.
first.
Oh, so, really? It says request for.
On the right, it says to remove it.
Oh, no, oh, on the right. Terminate user, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that, okay.
Um,
Thank you.
Who is WB Mason?
They are, oh, I love WB Mason. They're an office supply company. They started in a little room in downtown Brockton, Massachusetts, and now he's a big, big guy. What this $27 is, Francis, is it is a service contract on the big printer in the kitchen room there.
Okay,
And it includes toner, it includes repairs, everything. It's $27.50 a month. You can't go on.
this one here is requested by Deb Zarimba because of an overpayment on some taxes. I'd be guessing, but I'm guessing that the person paid for the taxes and the bank paid for the taxes, and there's an overpayment as a result of the two combined.
Okay, and CoreLogic is the funding agency, says centralized funds.
That's
They're
what,
paying the
Yes, I
mortgage.
guess they're escrow holding.
Thank you.
I'm looking for a motion to direct me to sign that particular document.
We can do it in this part of the meeting.
I don't know why not, it's all one big business meeting here, I don't.
All right, so, I make a motion to authorize,
Francis, to sign it. I second it.
Looking for a vote?
please, hold on.
Vote yes?
Hold on, Mr. Chairman.
I still don't understand. It seems to me the person who makes the vote and the person who seconds the vote are in favor of it. They've already said yes.
Yeah,
No, sometimes it could be the motion be made for discussion purposes only.
yeah.
They could second it for discussion purposes.
I suppose.
But it's a good point, so maybe in the future, what I'll do is add that little extra. Okay, and so Francis, you're voting yes to approve this, okay,
And I vote yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries.
Is it motion carries or motion carried?
Well, that's a good point, and
I'm
that's
just
very
curious.
confusing.
Carries is
When
present.
you're reading that two years from now, the motion carried. When we're here right now, the motion carries.
Present tense versus past.
No, I know the tense, but I put on the minutes, carried.
Yep, and that's fine, from my point of view. Thank you.
Yeah, we can start getting our money back. I think we've heard of this before on some grounds. By the time we start getting our companies to run our request for qualifications, and they start, we do them in bills. We can publish them, we need to make sure we have this kind of money that we can pay them as. That was a good chance they all told me, it was a good chance that engineering part of it would be for before you get.
Are we ready to go on?
If you want me to approve these minutes, I've got to finish reading them, Mr. Chairman. And Palmer probably needs to read them.
You will be seeing another set of 4 minutes, plus one from last week, 5 sets of minutes appearing on the internet in the immediate future.
And when there's checks
On the internet?
Huh?
You mean you're gonna be sending them to me?
No, the ones you've already gotten printed out for us, that's 5 of them, I think.
Oh, yeah,
And that'll be, I'm just
so
telling-
I will, yeah, put them on the website, yes.
That's what I said.
Mr. Chairman, I have just one issue with the minutes, because this is the first time I've seen it, January 21st meeting. It's the
No, I sent them
motion,
to everybody.
excuse
I
me?
sent them to you
Really? I apologize.
by email. I sent all, but
Well,
I thought that they were approved.
well, the only concern I have is the motion to approve the amendment to the 319 meeting, where Palmer abstained. I think it should say motion carried 2-1 abstention. Or it just shows that one is an abstention and not a negative vote.
In fact, they will tell you in some cases that if you are abstaining, you have voted with the majority.
that's the only thing, Linda, I just wanted to have it shown.
I didn't put the,
You actually, you said-
You say that Palmer abstained, but then you say the motion carried 2-1.
I think the motion carried 2-0.
Yes, that would be right,
nothing?
because there's no vote on my part.
Can
In
we
this
just
instance.
make that change
Oh,
and
because
initial
you
it?
abstained and said no.
There's no vote, yes or no.
Okay.
So I just made that a 0 and then I initialed it.
Oh,
I don't know if you get the email, he got all that, I was studying all that good stuff. I have come in today, we should be in good shape. But, no, good, and it is what it is, I need to move on these. And if they need to go down and say, hey, we need to raise X amount, for each bridge, I just ask them how much is in the bridge. Half of it. We'll figure it out, I'll bring it up now. I wasn't sure, that's about it, that's first. Perfect, thanks, Paul. Did you hear what I said about you? Well, damn, I said that the loudest.
Jeff, you want a place on this agenda here, or are you just coming for the entertainment?
A little of both. I don't have to be on the agenda for anything. Unless you wanna know what's going on in the fire department world.
I don't wanna put you too far down the list.
Well, we've been saving horses and all that stuff.
I asked him if he had his supper.
Yeah, good job.
Have you had your supper?
No,
Well, put them right up on top,
I'm gonna hang around anyways.
okay? Put them at the bottom.
Yeah, put them at the bottom.
I put you down in the reports of town officials.
This one. Put me down was last. Did you get my email? You agree? Report?
Yes.
Okay. Does it need to be,
I didn't look at
we're
it.
about
Just printed
it
it.
might need to be buffed up a little bit. You might wanna look at that.
I agree. When I stopped to work on that.
What?
Is that the intent to cut? That's what, that's what kids are all about.
You wanna keep signing minutes?
Excuse me?
You wanna keep signing minutes?
Can't sign minutes and it doesn't do discussion.
I know.
So, and these folks probably wanna get out of here as quickly as
Alright.
possible, so if we.
This is the next thing on the agenda, it's, attempt to cut, no. I guess I'm out of order.
No, that's the next item after the health trust authorized user agreement.
No, it's an application for current use, it's 3 lines down.
Oh, I thought that was an intent to cut, I'm sorry. I assumed it was the,
Since I've started, I'll go with
because I saw it as a form and I assumed that it was the intent to cut.
this particular application for current use was put on file by date December 18th, 2018. It's an application for current use, and they apparently had their ducks in a row because they even included the check for the amount, because anytime they put something in current use like this form I've got in front of me, it gets recorded, and that's the recording fee.
Is that dated 2018 too?
2018.
I mean, the
2
check.
problems. First problem, I think, is easy. Approve the application. The second problem is the check is outdated.
Wow, where has that been?
I guess if I may, Mr. Chairman, I guess the obvious question is, why is this coming to a board of selectmen at this point in time?
Discovery is rather late.
13 months.
It's because I found it in a pile.
Wow.
And, the assessor suggests that we just absorb that $16 fee. You know, because we are just negligent in filing it.
They deserve to have the file signed.
They filed it timely.
Yeah,
It doesn't say that when it was filed,
that's the,
but it's dated the 15th. I don't know when it was filed, it should have been a stamp on it, but, I would
It was
say,
never filed.
no, when it was
signed-
received, when it was received by the town, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
And that's kind of filing it, because they send it to the town. And if the question is, I can't remember what the statute says when the application for current use has to,
I think it is April 15th.
well, it doesn't go into effect.
so this would be for
until-
the 2019 tax year.
Well,
But it's not for the tax year 2018, it's just for the tax year 2019.
Correct.
Okay, that's, so,
We'll have, when the assessor sees it, he'll have to make a recommendation.
can I see it one more time?
Sure.
I think they need that date. I can say that too.
One of these checks, you did not sign one.
oh, I said, this one I
Is that
did sign?
intentional?
No, I thought I signed them all.
Okay, I'll find it.
Okay.
I'm guessing by the looks of things, that here is 84.6 acres. And they're putting it all in the current use. Apparently, it hasn't been in current use before. The basis behind current use is to preserve large tracts of land of 10 acres or more.
The procedure, that's the only concern I have.
Well, here's my suggestion.
And it sounds like the town messed up.
Yeah. My suggestion is to approve that by our signatures. Send a letter with the check back to them, saying that we have received your application, it has been put on file, it will be recorded in the Grafton County Registry of Deeds, send them a copy right along with it, and explain to them that we will look into, oh boy, this is gonna be biggie. Look into the error, because that should have been in current use for 2019, and on 84.6 acres, the value is going to be drastically changed.
Do we have, excuse me, go
How
ahead.
about something to the effect of that your application was misplaced, and it is, been signed by the selectmen, we'll immediately forward it to the assessor and await his recommendations, something to that effect, because it's up to the
The
assessor.
basic question is, what's gonna be the change in assessed value from full value to current use value?
Yeah, we're not gonna know that until he sees it.
Right. But we will reimburse them, I'm just speaking out of line here. We'll reimburse them when we know the, the
Yes.
correction.
Homework, it's on top.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So we will,
Send the check back.
And the only reason for sending them back the check is so they can reconcile their books if they haven't already done so.
yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't question that, say,
I know.
gee, how come they didn't cash my check? Unless they rescinded the application.
I'm surprised, and that was gonna be my question, Mr. Chairman, was, did they try to contact the town about this? Why didn't they,
Yeah, I would have, if I hadn't heard.
especially
They
for that?
may have rescinded it, or
Or they might have just thought it
Here, I'll put that on.
Excuse me?
I would just assume.
Sorry, I missed that.
No
So,
problem.
do you want me to draft a letter and,
Yeah, I would,
Next time it.
I know, but I'm gonna hold off until, if we can determine a little bit more about what happened, because if they don't wanna be under current use, there's no, there's no sense in us signing them. So there's some confusion there.
I assume they wanna be under current
Yeah.
since they filed it.
But
This is an application for current use.
perhaps they called and said, well, we don't wanna have that, that's why it got set into a different file. Cause I assume we get requests for, we get current use applications.
if somebody had voided their check then, I would have want my check voided.
Yeah, good point.
The check is right here, but obviously in their file, I would expect that they aborted it. How about, I've already signed it.
Yeah, you have someone that wants to
Yeah,
ask a question,
right.
Mr. Chairman.
I would just go under the assumption of what you have in your hand, that they wanted that to be put into current use, and I probably, could you just proceed with that?
I'm tempted to agree with you, Donna, but over 13 months later, this could even have changed hands. I'm not aware.
Something like this, I don't wanna assume anything.
Yeah.
I wanna know the information.
Can we direct Linda to contact this person either in writing or by phone, probably in writing,
Well, I don't know if yes.
and
I'll have to get the letter approved.
in essence, say that we have discovered your application. We are still ready to move forward with it. Just want to make sure that after this lapse of time, that the intent is the same.
Okay.
Yeah, because this was submitted under a prior select board, and there may have been something else that goes on, and again, I don't wanna assume anything.
December 18, 2018. All right, I'll try to go back up to the top. Intent to cut. How many pages were there, two?
Yeah, it was just the attachments that
Yeah,
I
okay.
sent out with the intent.
Now, I got a question here. Remember that one?
Yes, they did pay.
What?
Are you looking for the tax bill?
No,
It's-
they applied for a intent to cut previously. And there was only, one signature was missing. How many names were on the tax card?
Two, I think.
And they only have one name here.
What's this?
No, wait,
At the logger?
I thought that was a Baker Valley Community Trust, and she is the only person on this application.
Okay, so there's only one.
Yes,
Uh,
I think I'm thinking of a different intent.
I thought there were two names.
There's another intent that I'm waiting for them to pay tax.
I wanna say we had two names on that last time.
May I ask a question? Is there a certificate of trustee that says she has the authority to sign on behalf of the trust? There should be a certificate of trustee from her saying that
Okay.
she's the trustee and that she has the authority, because, not that we won't need to see the whole trust, we just need to see
Okay.
what I would call a certificate of trustee.
Like I said, this,
Authorization.
yeah.
It's like an authorization, well, it just shows them that they have the authority to sign these documents.
I guess my question before is, I remember there was a missing name. And it was added in.
Okay,
I'm
I'll
decided-
research it.
Undecided at the present time.
See, if I may, Mr. Chairman, the certificate of the trustee is like, a paragraph. And if the trust itself, which, if she presented the trust and it shows it in there, that could be 25 pages or 50 pages that we would have to review. So that's what the certificate of trustee does, it's just a very short authorization, she's signing it under oath, it's a notarized document.
Basically, we can't sign that because we'll be authorizing her and she may not have the authority to
Right.
act.
That's right.
cost advisor, did you get a chance to read this?
Yes, is that the timeline?
Let me ask to be put on record. This morning, Chief Trot came to my house requesting a permission to be given to cohort advisors to provide a series of events that cohort advisors were involved in. I called Omer to get his permission on the matter, and I called Palmer to get his permission on the matter, and I signed the release that went to, well, I keep referring to as Crane and Bell, to allow the information to be provided. They wouldn't provide it without our permission.
I think the important thing, if I may, Mr. Chairman, is to point out that there were exigent circumstances requiring that to be signed at that time. Why we didn't get it in a more timely manner, but as I understand it, as it was explained to me, there was some proceedings going on at the
Today.
Superior Court.
Today.
Today? Okay, so that was the exigent circumstances that required that, because ordinarily, that would be something to go before a meeting, but
And I was signing it this morning, so that they have it today. And this is the report back. Now it requests our signature to provide this, the reference to the legal firm is not in that timeline anywhere. You weren't on the board at that
I was
particular
not.
time, but the, a representative from Gardner, Fulton and War came before us to talk about the matter. And I couldn't help but notice that that chain of events is not even listed in that report. I started to ask Chief and then got distracted, and now he's not available.
Is he okay?
Is he?
Is he okay? He's out on a call?
Oh, I don't know. Do you know if he's here?
I think he's in his office.
What?
I think he's in his office. Do you need him here? I can go ask him.
I'd like to ask him some questions about that, because that timeline seems incomplete in the absence of that report.
I'll be right back.
How significant that is, I don't know.
and because of the nature of the case, it's a criminal case, I'm not sure what, nothing against you folks, but, talking about those types of things in open meeting may not be appropriate. Too many rules.
I don't hold it against me.
Excuse me?
I won't hold it against you.
I decided to ask you, how come the involvement of the legal firm was not part of this timeline, and I don't remember what your answer was.
I don't know why they did not include that in there.
You have the opinion that it should be in there.
I'm surprised it's not in there.
Did you find it anywhere?
No, I did not. I looked it over and I did not find it.
Okay. On that basis then,
Not that that's critical, but for what we need to do.
Right.
For the reason why I would encourage the board to just go ahead and take care of the release.
Do you have an idea of when we met, and we can just pen it in?
that's what I asked you. I want to say it was back in April.
I'm
So
gonna
it's
say it was
around
a-
April 24.
What?
I happen to know because I had something else going on that day. I think it was, you mean the very first meeting?
When
that you guys
the
had?
legal firm came in, represented.
That would have
Attorney
been-
Tangy, I think it was Attorney Tangy
Yeah,
came in.
it was around April 24.
April 24th, okay, so I wasn't too far wrong.
So, well, here it is, April 24th. Mentions Ms. Franz, trustee. Why don't we just add to the end of that, and the select board also met with town legal counsel. And we'll just initial that.
Sound appropriate?
It makes it more
Yep.
complete.
Yep,
Would you like me to pen that in?
yes, please. That allows people to be able to read it, whether if I did it, they wouldn't be able to read it.
Well, I'm experiencing the same challenges, Mr. Chairman.
So Omar, if I may, just for the purpose of clarification, the draft that you're revising was a draft that I believe was already sent out yesterday. You're just doing it for the purpose of notes for the board, is that?
Well, I'm just doing it just to make it complete. I mean, as you said, that letter was more important for the purposes of that hearing
Okay.
yesterday.
That sounds good.
And with the draft I have in front of me, Chief, is not signed by the CPA, Kendra Bell.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure it's complete, okay? Because I know, I was here when we met with town legal counsel too, so.
Where is this gonna go from here?
That goes, I believe that's already gone to the Grafton County Attorney's Office.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, you mean once Francis signed the release, they
Correct.
sent it off?
I signed the
Which would have been
release this
yesterday.
Okay, I
morning.
didn't know that,
I signed the release this morning, right?
No, yesterday.
Yesterday morning, okay. All right. Time flies.
So that's the only change I made. You can read that over.
Okay.
And Palmer, you weren't here at that point, so. Did you initial up here?
yes.
Was that it, gentlemen?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So is this document strictly for our files?
Apparently, I thought it was more official than
No,
that.
I would send it on to her. I would definitely send it on to her, to say it's more,
It was expedited yesterday morning, and this is the final result that's been approved.
Okay.
now, that doesn't mean that, if this needs to go to the county attorney, that doesn't prevent the county attorney from going to the court and giving a copy to the defense counsel of this. This is one, addition. And I think as the chief said, it's not, probably that critical to what was going on yesterday. But from my point of view, I just want to make sure that everything is included, that should be included. And if I could have a copy of this as amended, Linda, that would be good for my files. You wanna look at this, Palmer?
I did.
You did, okay. Where do you want to put this?
You can come and put it over here.
Okay,
All right, I'm on the avatar mapping thing. We talked about this so long ago, and
2018.
my recall says we agreed to everything as far as doing it, we just never signed it.
Exactly.
And so, this is the service agreement to have our maps updated, to have our database updated. And,
I have this chemical smell
about it.
that's giving me a bad headache.
So you won't get that open?
Yeah.
it's already been
Does
approved by
anybody else
this, on
have
a select board?
well, we did,
Oh, okay.
we actually addressed it,
Yeah,
okay,
I just,
yeah.
how long ago was it we addressed this?
I think it was back in, I don't know, the document is dated 2018, on the first page on the bottom.
Now, if it
on
was,
the cover.
if it was 2018, that's before I.
October 26, 2018?
Evidently, that's when it was presented to you. And Avatar gave me this document and said, this still has not been signed. I can't find the original. Said it still has not been signed, but yet, we kind of agreed verbally with them that we had $1,100 to spend on this matter.
And we've talked about this document in the last year.
I think so.
Several times.
I think,
And they have been acting in reliance upon a verbal statement that must have been made by the board, so the town is kind of on the hook for that. So,
Is that the document that you spoke to about, the guy said it was already included in the pricing and the mapping? Is that the meeting we're talking about? Is that the same mapping you're talking about from
This is
Avatar?
Avatar mapping that does that.
Yeah, you remember the meeting where you had discussed,
well, we had included in our budget.
right. So that was back in like September, probably.
In good faith, I think we need to be sending it.
yeah.
For sure.
It's a formality.
Thanks. So moved.
I so move.
Second.
I vote yes.
Oh, this is a motion?
I vote yes. We just voted to sign the Avatar Associates
Okay.
mapping servicing agreement.
So it was Homer,
Don made the motion, yes.
okay.
Palmer seconded it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes, me, George. As you've gone past the application for current use butcher, is that the one you're discussing that you
Yes,
found?
we put it aside because,
But if you look, there's two butchers that have land and they look like they're already in current use. There's one that's 60 acres, it's valued at 6,500.
this was 84.6. You maybe have a point there, though, maybe want to look at other current use things.
Well, that-
This appears that it has not ever been addressed, no signatures on it or anything.
Is it an initial intent to cut? Because,
No, this is the current
Are you
use.
talking about initial
Oh, the
cut?
current.
You're talking about the current use, right?
Yes.
oh, the intent to cut was a certificate of trustees.
There is nothing here that indicates that this has been addressed in the past. Down the bottom, we would sign it. This looks like an original document to me, doesn't you? And
And Avatar hasn't done anything
Yeah,
yet.
Avatar has not done anything with it yet.
so I'm going to say,
Does it have a lot,
what?
does it have a lot number?
Yes, it does, I'm sure it does. 1/1/12.
Is this something you want me to check on, George?
I'm looking here. Just to-
George is suggesting that there may be another lot that he owns that already is in current use. I think,
Is that not allowed?
well, this application is only for one lot. So if any other lot exists, there's gotta be a separate application. I think we asked you to do things correctly, but maybe you wanna check on that to make sure we're talking about the right lot.
So you don't wanna sign it now?
That one
It
is,
seems pretty straightforward to me.
What
is
that,
that, you sure that's not the intent to cut? This Baker Valley,
no, that's not an intent to cut.
It's a request for a refund.
Oh, okay, we're talking about the three different things now.
And a number of them.
Uh, The current use thing was to put all of 84.6 acres in the current use.
does that have a lot number on that?
Yeah, that's the one I gave you, what did I just say, 1112?
1112.
So it's Baker Valley Land Trust? Is the name?
No,
No, it's Boucher,
the
wasn't it?
name is Boucher.
B-O-U-C-H-E-R.
1112 is Baker Valley Land Trust.
And that's another reason why we probably should let it go back to the present owner and make sure that we are doing the right things, because it may have changed hands between the year 13 months that was,
Is that what
The
it says on
Baker
the
Valley-
advertising?
Bones.
Baker Valley Trust was the intent to cut.
We're
Yeah,
talking about the
Are
current
you
use.
looking
Yeah.
up
I'm
something?
looking at the current
John?
use. If you look at, it's looking at the tax bill of current online.
I have it right here. And then as well.
the current use.
1112 says Baker Valley
Land Trust.
Common Land Trust.
maybe it switched hands over the last 15 months.
Good head?
Oh, that's Dancing Bones.
Unless it's
The application for current use,
Mm-hmm.
unmistakably, is Boucher, B-O-U-C-H-E-R, map. I may have given the wrong map.
Oh.
11-120
Oh, okay.
and 11-121.
Well, that makes sense now.
Okay.
That's-
I think I've reading off the,
The intent to cut.
You didn't sign the calendar?
So the intent to cut is lot
I
11,
may not have
12.
been here.
1112.
Let me
This
check.
is the chip thing.
In my opinion, we've told Linda to do the right thing, and that is investigate this, make sure that we're, that 13 months later, we're doing the right thing. I wasn't here. It's sometime in the
But you're
future.
here now,
I
Mr.
know.
Kell. You're here now, sir.
I know where the window is.
But sometime in the future, we've got to do about, we got to address the issue of the fact that they have paid full value on a piece of land they wanted to put into current use, and what we've got to do with that. I'm looking at a request for refund. We had a similar thing on a previous occasion. We signed it, and then we are told we gotta redo it because,
They never brought it.
no.
Is this the one?
Please
Says-
redo.
Is that the one, it's a mess?
Messed up, yeah.
Deb wrote all over it and she said, please redo it. Besides, the amount is different. The original one was for 10 and now it's 14.
Okay, yep. It was originally done on December 26th, 2019. I think I've covered everything, right?
If you have.
All right. Reports from town officials coming right up.
You're holding the minutes, not approving the minutes?
Well, we're,
I
holding that-
thought you guys were all on the same loop. You've
I
been
thought we
meeting
were
together
done.
and approving.
We don't wanna hold up some of the people here that might find, any ball games going on or whatever more entertaining than we are. So, next on my agenda is police department. I'll go back to them as soon as they appear. Town commissions, trustees, boards and committees, any report there? Administration, any report there?
Mhm.
Highway department, discuss Fresco and Crossroad bridges. I received email, I think everybody else did.
Yes.
I thought I received three, I got the three here, Okay, Paul, you wanna address that?
Sure, last week, Wednesday, I started making phone calls and emails, and it went on and on and on. And, Chris Fournier finally, I think I finally talked to him on the phone Thursday afternoon about the Frescon Road Bridge and the Crossroad Bridge. Him and I talked Thursday night, Friday, back and forth emails, Monday. He met here with myself, Chief Ames, Chief Trott, and Linda, and he had drafted up some letters already, part of their HEB's contract to help us out with the hydraulic study, which I found out in the midst of it all, so we didn't really have to do a lot of work. Although I will say, between all of us, I'm sure we got well over 40 hours into it. So there's 3 letters here that have been drafted up.
Yes, I sent them.
One is a letter to Charles Wilecki, to the New Hampshire Department of Transportation, the Bureau of Bridges, just letting him know that we're moving forward with request for qualifications. The second page, Chris and I talked about, and he's got Frescon Road Bridge and Crossroad Bridge on this. And basically what your second page is after Mr. Wilecki approves and says everything looks good, the request for qualification page is good, and we put it out into a newspaper on the town website, on the New Hampshire municipal website. The second page, when we get inquiries about what we want, I or Linda will forward them the second page, the company that's looking for it, which would be the request for qualifications.
I have a problem with that.
Okay.
That should be coming to the select board. I looked at all 3 of those documents. There are typos. There is the language is not quite right. But the select board has an obligation to the people of the town. You're spending, at some point, you'll be spending almost $500,000 on these 2 bridges.
I gotta talk about that too. It's gonna be a lot more than
Okay,
$500,000.
that's a lot of money. The select board needs to be involved in that. The other thing that I have a problem with is that there was no member of the select board at that meeting. In the last minutes, there was a list of people, and a member of the select board, or the select board, was also supposed to be at that Monday morning meeting. So, I don't know what happened, how the select board did not know about the meeting or get invited to it until after the fact. But there are typographical errors in all 3 of those documents. And
I fixed all those.
you did, okay.
The only thing I didn't do was change the information about the selectmen because you had just questioned it.
But now I'm in an open meeting.
Yes.
And so the other thing is, these forms should be coming back to the Board of Selectmen with a copy to the road agent, no problem. But the Board of Selectmen has a responsibility to the people of the town that we're knowledgeable about this thing. And I don't know who made the decision not to invite the select board, but that was not appropriate in my mind. We should have been, at least one member of the board should have been at that meeting Monday night.
Let's face it, the selectmen are responsible for things that go on, and you cannot be to blame if something doesn't get back. In other words, I don't wanna blame you for something the selectmen should be taking the blame for to start with. Jeff?
With no disrespect to the select board, there was requests from this board and a prior board for myself and a couple others involved in making this happen. And the reason you need to make this happen, it's been going on since October of 2017. I've come to this board numerous times and said, what are we doing? And we're doing nothing. So now we've made some forward motion. Are we gonna act on that forward motion, or are you gonna allow that money from FEMA to go down the drain.
No, chief, no.
Well, you are if you
No.
don't act on it.
All I want, chief, if I may, Mr. Select, all I want, chief, is to fix the typos in that and to make sure that the responses aren't just going to the road agent, that they're also coming to the Board of Selectmen. I understand. Now, again, this board wasn't the 2018 board, and you're right. But the other thing is, in the last meeting that we had, when it was talked about meeting with Mr., who did you say, Courier?
Fournier.
Mr. Fournier, that a member of the select board would be at that meeting. And chief, I'm not trying to put a stop on this in any way, shape, or manner. I just want to make sure that the select board are doing their duty.
And may I say that by the information that was given to you tonight, from a group of people that have already been involved in this, prior to you sitting on this board, is passing along that information. That's all that was done. There was no reason for you to come out and get unglued over it. None.
Well, chief, I'm sorry. I just said I believe the select board should be receiving all of these requests for.
And you did. Did you not get it?
No. I'm not talking about these three documents, when they talk about who the consultants are supposed to be sending their proposals to, it's going, the request is to send it just to the road agent. That consultant request or application should be coming to the select board.
I agree with that. Everything here is done fine. I'm glad it's done and getting on feet.
I actually have another document where I did make those changes, but I didn't present it until you guys made a decision.
So the intent here was to never leave the select board out of the picture. This was to get you back into the picture so that we could move forward with this project. There's no reason for us to bash heads over this, I'm telling you, because we're going to lose that money if we don't take action now. And I know that by dealing with FEMA.
Chief, and I agree with you. The only thing I'm asking is that the select board be added to the person to receive that information.
And that's fine, that's why these documents were brought to you tonight.
Yep.
And I don't think it's gonna take them more than minor modification to do that.
No, like I
Whose
said, I did
computer,
it,
is it on your computer?
yes, and I
Okay.
can,
So,
It's easily fixed.
easily fixed.
So, I would like to speak.
Yeah,
Last week, you asked me to get a hold of Paul Hatch. There was no mention of Chris Fournier. I will tell you, I did get a hold of Paul Hatch. Basically, Paul Hatch is so frustrated and so irritated with the town of Wentworth for meeting with the board 3 different times in the last year. He basically said, you're on your own. That's when I took the initiative to try to get a hold of somebody. I came up here looking for the HEB study that was not, we couldn't find it anywhere in the room, nobody knew where it went. I did not have an electronic copy of it. I personally got a hold of Chris Fournier. Him and I spent a lot of time on the telephone and emails.
I'm not finding fault with this at all.
I never meant to exclude the select board out of it. I talked to Chief Ames and Chief Trott, and I talked to Linda, and I said, since Linda was new, and she really has no recollection of meetings that we had in the past, I thought it would be good that Chris said, I can meet you Monday morning at 9. And I thought since the 3 of us had a lot of knowledge of what was going on, me by doing research, that it would be really good and really quick with Chris Fournier. We were here for 45 minutes. It was done and over with. Everything was done. I never meant to leave one single person of the select board out of it.
I guess all I'm saying is, this is an excellent start. What do you say, it's been a while. Any correspondence coming from these interested individuals should come to you and us. And that's the only change I'm asking. That's the only change I'm asking.
Makes sense.
You should be able to just say that, though, we'd like to be included. It
Exactly.
didn't need to
Yeah, it
be.
didn't need to be,
So,
shall we?
I'm sorry, I apologize. Please forgive me. Chief and Mr.
I'm
Nancy.
okay with that. So our next thing that I want to bring up, is I have talked to Charles Walecki, and I have talked to 4 or 5 different engineering companies, just trying to give you guys a ballpark figure of what an engineering price is gonna cost, because last week we talked, and I just babbled off a number of $100,000 to $150,000.
You think I really wanna hear it?
No, you don't wanna hear it, you might wanna sit back.
Go ahead.
When I said $100,000 to $150,000, I was talking about 2 bridges. And that number is probably not even good for 1 bridge. I can tell you by talking to White Mountain Engineering, Horizon Engineering, Holden Engineers, HEB, and Seacoast Engineering, I've got prices anywhere from $110,000 to $200,000+ for engineering prices only.
That's just engineering.
That's just engineering. So, Mr. Walecki and I, like I said, I've been on the phone a lot. Back in 2013, this was sent to the town of Wentworth. And he was gracious enough to find it and email it to me.
Who's that from?
This is from,
King?
no, this is from Mark Richardson, Administrative Bureau of Bridges and Designs for the state of New Hampshire. They did a, municipal, basically an evaluation and what it would cost to replace Prescott Road Bridge only. Okay? And back in 2013, when they gave this to the town and they told them that they should act on it with FEMA money, or with the bridge aid money, the cost of that bridge was $770,000. So today, Mr. Walecki put some red numbers on here for me, and I can give a copy to you guys.
I'd like to see it now.
Today, with engineering costs, and everything else involved, we're looking at $901,700.
1 bridge.
1 bridge. Now I want to bring to your attention the next problem. Since we need to move forward with this, and I know it's a problem, we need to have funding to pay our engineering bills as they come in.
Now, there was some indication that we could be advanced.
If
Some
you
of
let
them
me
I-
finish, I'll go there.
Okay.
So, we can get a cash advance, but we cannot get a cash advance from FEMA or the bridge aid funding until we have set in motion. Set in motion does not mean an engineering company has been decided upon. Set in motion means that there's been bids put out, a construction company is on board, and we are ready to start construction. It could be 6 to 8 to even 9 months for an engineering company to finish this engineering project. Before you can even put this out to bid, not the RFQ, but the project out to bid from the engineering company,
The engineering company.
we could be looking at September, October of next year, hoping and praying to get it done in 2021.
I want to make this short. There are 2 bridges. There's Freskin Bridge and there is the Rolling Town Crossroad Bridge.
Yep.
One of them does not qualify for,
Crossroad does not qualify for the bridge aid project.
Which is
in your introductory paragraph on page 1,
Yep.
I thought you were saying there that it did.
So I can explain that a little bit. Chris Fournier, since he's had a lot of practice in drafting letters with the state and municipalities, he said that the door is cracked open, I guess is exactly how I put it, right?
Correct.
He said it is not shut, but it is cracked open, and there's still a possibility that we may be able to get the bridge aid to pony up some money. So that's why it's there. I did ask him about that, and that was his exact answer. The door is cracked open.
Meaning that we might be able to get the 80% and the 25%?
He said it's cracked open.
Might be able to get the,
There may be a way that they can get the bridge aid program to help out.
all right, now go back to one other question. First things first, there's gonna be an engineering study, they're gonna be doing both engineering studies at the same time, right?
Well, how this is written up, if you look at it, what's gonna happen is the third page is the ad.
Yeah.
And I talked about, and it's up to you guys, to put this ad in the Manchester Union Leader, to put it on the New Hampshire Municipal website and to put it on the town website. The reason I say the New Hampshire Union Leader is, there's a lot of engineering companies in Concord South. There's not many from Concord North. I mentioned that yesterday in the meeting, seemed like a good idea, and after that is done, what they're gonna do, Francis, anybody that sees that and is interested, they're gonna contact me, you, the town administrator, however they can get a hold, telephone call, email, and we are gonna send them the second page. Now, after you get all of the engineering qualifications, the companies that are qualified, we need to sit down. And we, as in, I don't know if it's the selectmen and me, Chief Ames, I don't know who it's gonna be. And you need to decide if you are, how many of those companies you're gonna interview. My suggestion to the select board would be to find somebody in town that has experience in construction and civil engineering to sit
know
down
one.
and help us.
We
And I
know
know we know one. That would be my recommendation. I don't have an engineering degree.
Jeff,
I wouldn't even know what to ask them.
I'm just curious, if these ads go out, who is going to be your point of contact at that point? Because one of the problems that arises is everybody's got things going on, including the select board. And if you want to be included in all this, then you need to have an avenue for these people to get in touch with the select board at a moment's notice. So in the past, when I put out the bid for fire truck or something like that, rarely did the select board even know, other than the fact that that was going to take place. And now it sounds to me like we're wanting a point of contact with the select board. So who is that gonna be, and what avenue do people utilize to do that?
I guess I'd ask you this question here, what would be the adverse position of saying both? The head of the department and the selectmen, because the selectmen have to have the ultimate decision.
Nothing.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just asking, the point I'm asking is, how are these people gonna get in contact with you? That's it. Are you gonna have a phone number that they're gonna call? Are you gonna be here to take those calls?
I have a question, do you all have emails?
Yeah.
You all have emails, can they just be added on to?
Well, I don't know if they want their personal email out there.
I'm thinking that everything
They
should
could
come
be-
to a lender
They
and
just
then,
come to me and I forward it to them.
and she
Yeah.
forwards it to Paul, to us and everything.
So you could all be on an email,
Yep.
in touch with your emails.
That makes it
I
clear.
see a hand.
I feel like the general problem here is that there's not enough trust put in the different heads of the departments. That's
I
what I
don't
feel
think it's
like.
an issue of trust.
I don't know, trust in that they can do their jobs properly. That's what I think. I feel like we should put some more trust in Paul's ability.
I don't think it's trust, in my opinion. The
Okay.
selectmen are responsible for everything that goes on. Like it or not, they're responsible for everything that goes on. When something goes wrong, they're gonna get the blame. Why do I
That's
wanna pass
understandable.
the blame on to some other individual?
Or would they report it to you each time?
So I'll speak. Part of Chris Fournier's idea of putting me, I mean, this was spoke about. I even had a problem with my name being there. I think these guys will attest to me saying that. And I said, the only problem I think is gonna be is having my name. Chris's point of having my name on there is that I am at my office at 5 a.m. I am there till 2 or 3. I have my personal cell phone on there. If it got down to a deadline date and they had a question, they can call my cell phone. I have my email that I can access my email from home, just like it comes through just like a text message. And that was Chris's thinking, that the response time would be like that. And he said that would mean a lot to a lot of engineering companies.
We can have emergency meetings, anytime we.
Okay.
But I think everybody should be in the communication link. And I wouldn't necessarily say, but the email probably should go to the chief, to Jeff, to all of us. that are gonna be even remotely involved in the project for whatever reason.
You can have blinds so people don't see your meeting.
And if everything came into Linda and she forwarded to all these people here, that makes the most central, guaranteed, process of communication.
I agree, I just think that there needs to be a point of contact.
So all I'm doing about criticizing this here, I'm not criticizing this is the next one. It's the giant step we've needed for a long time. But just to make sure that the selectmen are knowing what's going on, because we're all going to be responsible.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, in answer to Chief Ames's question, I would say the point of contact should be the chairman of the select board, if you're looking for a point of contact. Now, I would like to be included, but if you're looking for a point of contact, then I believe it should be the chairman of the board.
I would tend to disagree with it only because of my ability with emails and so on. I think Linda would be much, much better than I would, personally.
Does Linda have capabilities of getting her email outside of the office? If you monitor your email daily at home?
I haven't set that up, I'm not sure how to do that.
Linda, you're not in the office here every day, right?
Lately,
Are you full-time in the office here? Like,
no,
Monday through Friday?
yes.
Wait,
no.
oh, well, your normal business hours are not Monday through Friday full-time, right? For this position?
I am temporarily.
Oh, I guess I was just wondering, because it probably should be somebody that's full-time, that has the
I
ability.
am full-time.
Okay, I was just wondering, I think part of the
Appointments.
question may have been,
If Paul were on the
Yeah.
receiving end of any correspondence, if Linda were on the receiving end of any correspondence, and if you insist, if I were on the receiving end of any correspondence, I think everybody get the message.
So email it.
And everybody would, if they did get the message, somebody's responsible for not conveying their part, but at least 3 people have got it, and I don't think anybody's gonna be in the dark as a result of it. 'Cause,
I think you have a question over.
Yeah, I guess one of the concerns that I have, I'm in a line of work where if I don't get something into the court by a specific time, I'm in trouble, and my client is in trouble. We're dealing with adults, we're dealing with professionals. If, waiting to the last minute shouldn't be an issue. If they're interested in doing the job, then they should be doing things in a timely manner. There shouldn't be this, for lack of a better word, a panic attack and have to call someone at the very last second. I mean, they should be able to have their ducks in a row so that they get things to, there should be deadlines. You are to have this in by 4, and I think there's some deadlines in here, by 4 o'clock on a certain date. And, if they're calling at 3:30 or 3 o'clock with the hope that they're gonna be able to email something in by 4 o'clock, well, I think that's an unreasonable expectation. Yes, there's all this electronic stuff, but at the same time, I just think if they're professionals, and they're interested in really doing this, that they're gonna be timely in their request. I would hope.
I think you will be surprised with the construction ones.
But my next question is the next move from the select board to move forward with the advertising?
Yes, from my point of view, yes.
yes. Right here. Well, the one-page job, you're getting in the papers, because you're not gonna put a great big ad in the paper, you're gonna put a small little thing that says, if you're interested in this job, get your specs by contacting so-and-so.
And I do not believe that any one of us that was at that meeting was trying to exclude a select board member, and I apologize if that's the way it felt or looked. What we were trying to do was bring this to a spearhead so the town does not lose the FEMA funding that's out there.
Why has it been taking so long? That's what I wanted to know.
Because we've had, in my opinion, we've had multiple boards,
Mhm.
multiple new people, getting involved in this, and quite honestly, the last answer that I got was, I don't think we're gonna have time to do that before or sometime around after the March town meeting. That's BS, in my book. We have the time, we need to make the time, because we don't wanna lose those funds. So that was the avenue that was taken. It wasn't to exclude the select board.
And if I can just, I was under the impression at the last meeting that Paul was tasked by the select board
That's what I thought.
to get this taken care of.
Yeah.
And
I'm
I'm
not
just a-
faulting, I'm not
I'm just a-
faulting, he's got
and I
it taken
came in
care
on
of.
the end of this conversation, so I apologize. And I know I'm sounding like I'm a little defensive.
He's
here,
gotten it taken care of. He's done what he was asked to do. All we're asking to do is be included in the thing so we have we're in the line of communication. That's all we're asking.
And that may speed things up.
What may speak things up?
If
What
we're
he's
involved.
saying is,
Yeah.
you'd like the selectmen to have the liaison at these meetings, that's it.
Say that
You'd
again.
like to have a liaison at these meetings, so
Yes.
they can come back to the board and tell what's going
Yeah.
on. That's all, that's all it comes down to.
So I think the emails will work.
We're gonna get the blame, they
Yeah.
be in the loop.
I think that's what.
So
that's what
the
purpose
very
of
next
this meeting
step,
Was the purpose.
so you guys know before I forget, tomorrow morning Linda needs to email the copies of all of that, whether they've been edited or the final copies, need to go to C.R. Lalecki at the Department of Transportation Bridge, it's all
You
right
have a lot of
here.
changes in
I
this.
did that.
No,
I
I think Linda said she'd already made those
I
changes.
made all changes
Except.
except the select board. I do have another set of documents where I made almost changes, but how do you want it to read? Do you want it to say, do you want that letter to be from you? To say, contact us, the select board or Paul, and give two different email addresses, or just one email address, which is me?
To expedite things, well, go ahead.
I guess one of my questions in reading these over is the document, the main document, talks about the town, okay? I'm sorry, the road agent isn't the town.
Okay.
The selectmen, we're ultimately responsible. Road agent, in that, on that spot. So that's why I'm saying, it sounds like the town is supposed to be contacted,
Okay.
and that's the select board, and I would say through the administrative assistant. With a copy to the fire chief, with a copy to the road agent. I mean, Chief Trot, if you want a copy too. It's just that ultimately, the select board is responsible.
Okay.
And when we go to a town meeting and say, we gotta spend $1 million on a bridge, road agent isn't gonna take the heat. It's gonna be right up here.
All right. If I make the
On that last line, last paragraph, if you will, where it says, I am more than willing to discuss and so on. In addition to the Wentworth Highway Department and the telephone number there, put our email address here and the telephone number here as well, so both parties get it.
Okay.
Then you can forward it to Jeff, the chief,
And
to every one of us.
yeah. I know,
They're not gonna want to
can
put
tweak
7
it.
people on here, I'm sure, when they're.
No, I can tweak it. Also, on the second letter, the request for qualification, one of Omer's suggestions was to send all questions or inquiries in writing to the select board, with an address and PO box and everything. That just adds another layer of delay to the whole process. I think that in my opinion, I just think it would be better to kind of leave it as is, to contact either Selectman or Paul through email with any inquiries.
I'm okay on the second page you're talking about where it says questions should be submitted to Paul.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
He's probably more justified in solving answering any questions than I would be.
But I guess that means you need to be in agreement, because owner wanted questions to go to the select board in writing to our PO box.
Well, in writing could go even, are you suggesting that my Luddite tendencies are being expressed in some of my comments?
No, I just want you guys to all be
She
on the
might not be.
same page. So that, I wanna know how you wanna be contacted. Is email good enough?
If they call me ask me questions, I'm not gonna be qualified to answer.
Right, I think Paul is the person.
At least.
All right,
she
but
did
when
this.
you have a decided statement that you want to,
Well, that's the first letter. The first letter, you're actually
yes,
telling them what our plan is.
yes,
And for it to come from you is perfect, I think.
yes.
In the second letter, for any questions on the qualifications for, request for qualification, Paul would have the answers.
Right, but then when they send their qualification statement, that should come to both Paul and the selectmen.
I think that probably be discussed in a select board meeting, right? You're gonna or you're gonna have a separate meeting for, discussing each individual engineering company. I mean, you don't have to interview every one of them. Okay, I mean, you might get 6 companies, and you might say, let's interview these 2 companies.
I know what Francis is concerned. He just wants all the requests to come
So you don't
to
have,
me,
that's fine,
or to the
When
select
you
board.
submit your plan,
I'll help out any way I can.
And then you will get a copy of the request. But any questions, you can address,
yes,
right?
yes.
And,
Because,
and if you're, one of your applicants is the George Morrow Construction Company,
Mm.
you probably will, set that off to the side. Nothing personal, George,
Certainly.
nothing personal.
And just so you guys know, you're not gonna get any pricing with the request for qualifications.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
all right, I just wanna, that's something, in an interview, you're gonna have to ask them for, estimated cost of their engineering.
so the first thing that's gonna go out is this letter to Charles, I can't pronounce his last name.
Well,
The second thing that's gonna go out is the advertising.
Yep.
And the third thing is when they decide they want to apply,
that's
they're gonna
correct.
set up, okay,
But tomorrow, all 3 pages are going to Mr. Walecki,
okay.
getting emailed to him, and he will contact me or Linda and say, it looks great, send it out, and off it goes.
Now, who wants to sign that first letter? All 3 of you or one? How do I do this? And,
We only need one signature
okay.
on that.
So Francis, you
I-
will
I
sign it
can- I
as
can
being
come up-
chair.
I can come up and sign tomorrow morning,
Sure.
first thing if you authorize me to do
All
so.
right. So it's just that one.
What time tomorrow would be convenient for you, Linda? for you to come up?
I'm here at 9, so
5 AM.
give me a half an hour to
Okay,
make the adjustments.
You gonna be here at 5?
I'm headed to Plymouth at some point tomorrow, but it doesn't have to be before 10 probably.
Okay, so.
Would you mind if I came up too?
I'd love it.
Definitely.
Or you would mind, okay.
No, no, no.
Want me to bring donuts and coffee?
Certainly come.
No more donuts on my diet, no more.
George,
I'd like to say I'm glad that the select board has taken a real interest in this now, since it's been discussed for the last 6 or 8 months in almost every other meeting, that we need to move forward. Now someone's moved forward and maybe we can actually do something.
you can't possibly be out there in the community and totally understand what has been on the plate of this board in the last 6 to 10 months. And the fact that we have neglected this, I want to say, is inexcusable, but at the same time, it's got its reasons.
Mr. Chairman, if I may say something else,
Yes.
mea culpa on my part. When I was handed those 2 thick documents about the bridges, and I was going to review them, I did, I reviewed them, but I thought they were copies, that there was another set here at the town offices. Or I was hoping there might have been another set with the road agent. Obviously, they weren't, because when I brought my file to the meeting the other day, and I showed it to the town administrative assistant, she, you know, evidently they thought, so I was holding on to those innocently, without any ill intent, without any mal intent, okay? So, I apologize for my unintentionally
No problem.
causing issues.
At least we found them, that's all that
Right.
matters.
Thank you.
I do have more information about the bridges, but I think, we've all been sponged enough of bridges tonight, so we'll wait a few weeks, because it's nothing that's urgent at all. My last thing I did wanna ask you guys is, we talked about, maybe putting an ad out last week to get somebody to plow snow, in the winter.
You got a copy of this here? I asked Linda to put on a non-public at the end of this.
I don't, I'm not sure how to tell people that it would be with Paul in the select board, right?
What?
The non-public?
Yes.
I don't know if I should have stated that, or if I should have contacted you.
Okay, so,
It's not about you.
No.
Okay.
It would involve you if we had it in public, but it would be not about you. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
yeah,
Make
that's
sense?
fine.
Okay. And I think probably we can direct Linda to convey any decisions, if there are any, after the meeting, so that you don't have to wonder very long.
Oh, that's all right. So I don't have anything else to offer tonight. It took up my 40 minutes.
Thanks a
Thank you.
lot.
Thanks, Paul.
I do it every time, that's why.
Guess what, Donna,
Yes.
you've waited long enough.
I have, for sure. I had two petitions for warrant from, that I would like to present. They have the, right amount of signatures. I did double check with the town clerk. She has not verified all of them as being, police, but I think we have a few, enough so that you don't have to worry about it. But the first petition for warrant is for the, by petition 2% of the eligible voters of the town of Wentworth to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,370 to be used for participation in PB Cam, Pemmy Baker Public Access Media, for purpose of making video recorded selectmen's meetings and annual town meetings available for cable television viewers and the recording of the videos. This sum includes the $250 yearly membership fee and the taping of the current annual town meeting and all other selectmen town meetings at $30 per hour with a minimum of 2 hours.
And you have the,
I have
how many signatures you have?
I have 15.
15. I figured you had to have 13 or 14, so that sounds like enough to me.
Okay.
At the end of that warrant article, we're gonna have to put down, I believe, by petition.
Mhm.
No big deal. Is there a second one?
Yes.
Do you mind if I
Yeah, go ahead.
just add one thing? So, when Donna and I spoke about that one, that was before I had the conversation with you before, Francis. I understand that obviously these meetings aren't exactly 2 hours each.
Yeah.
So, I'm assuming that may need to be slightly reworded if we were to do it more so at 3 hours.
We cannot do it.
It can be amended.
Right, but we could do that at the hearing, right?
No.
Or would that be at the town
Town
meeting?
meeting.
Town meeting, okay, all right.
The selectmen, you've gone and got a petition. The selectmen don't have any say as long as you've got the right number of residents signing that petition. Nor can we change it.
Okay, so I understand, that makes complete sense.
It can be amended at the
Yeah.
town meeting, so if that figure does not, if you think that it would be more or less, it could be mentioned at the town meeting.
And we'll also keep in mind, I don't know if it's gonna happen this summer, but last summer they met every other week.
Yeah.
Because summer,
Mhm.
summer,
Okay,
so
Mhm.
but I mean, I think the point of the conversation that we had previous, Francis, was to basically cover up to
3 hours.
that amount, so you would need to budget, I think probably the maximum amount of what you would have to, you know, if we were to have a 3-hour meeting every single week, then we probably would have to budget for that, if we were to. And obviously, they've been going over 2 hours pretty much every meeting.
90 times 52, you know, I got those numbers, would be 4680. Then add on $250 onto that, 48, 49.30
Mhm.
for the 3 hours. And in the scheme of things, it ain't much difference.
Okay.
So if you come up with a figure and you wanna just amend that at the town meeting?
Yeah, I think that'll be fine. We can probably just talk about that later and maybe
What's
just.
going to do now? Because as soon as you submit this thing here, we can't change it.
Right.
Going back to what we spoke about, you know, a few minutes ago, we can just discuss it offline and come up with a possible amendment if we feel the need to at the time.
Or you can just,
Any
if
two
you
of
wanna
you
put a
cannot
warrant,
just
could
go
you
work
just go ahead and put a warrant in there without?
We can.
Any two of you cannot
that-
change it either, because when you took this to get these people to sign this, you in good faith said, this is the way it's gonna be worded.
Right.
And consequently, you can't change that, you have to go back and do a whole new petition with a rewording.
Unless you put a warrant in
I'm
yourself.
gonna raise a question. Will this board accept a warrant article that raises $4,680 plus the $250, which would be $49.30 for the purpose of the recordings?
I would be happy to have it as a warrant article, based on the signatures.
With the 3 hours, yeah, with the 3 hours in there as opposed to the 2.
Yeah, let the voters decide if they wanna spend that.
I think it's a great idea. I think getting this information, getting these meetings out to the public is a good thing. There's a lot of older folks that can't come out, can't drive, you know, in the evening. So I think, you know, Andrew, I'm so glad you kind of brought this up. I appreciate it. Excuse me?
I guess I'm confused.
So does,
Now you gotta keep.
Are you going to keep that warrant as is, or are you changing it?
That's what I'm gonna tell you
Okay.
something.
are you gonna vote on?
February 4th is the deadline for any petition warrant articles in the budget.
Mhm,
It's Tuesday.
Keep that in mind.
mhm.
Deadline. If you present that to us now, we're obligated to take it. Because you have the right number of signatures on it. If you want to take it back with you and present it at a later time after consulting with the ones that have signed the thing, we have just said that we will put on for, am I hearing this? I'll entertain a motion to put it on for 3 hours plus the $250.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
That we will, as a board, put on a warrant article that will raise and appropriate, I'm not sure what this is, 90 hours, not 90 hours.
Up to.
$90 a night for 52 nights, plus the 250, which is the membership fee.
Right, for Hillary Baker too.
Whatever that number turns out to, we'll make a warrant article that, we just said that. Now, you gotta decide whether you want to take this back, and talk it over with the ones that signed it, or give it to us tonight. If you give it to us tonight, we're obligated to follow what you have asked us to do.
What do you want to do? It's up to you.
Well, Francis, you're basically,
I'm not taking notes.
well, you're kind of asking us to go back and basically get a petition for a warrant article, completely new petition for a warrant article.
No,
What do you mean?
No, we can do it.
we can do it ourselves.
No, he's saying that the select board will write the warrant article.
Oh, okay, so I think that's a great idea.
No, don't take it yet. I want some, I want to say. No, in some towns, I've seen it where the warrant article has been petitioned, and after it says the selectmen
Approved.
are in favor of this. Other times, it says selectmen are not in favor
Right.
of this petitioned article. I don't wanna take away your work, and again, I think it's a great idea.
But ultimately, you think it's a good idea. Most likely, probably didn't need a petition for it because you're all in favor of it anyways.
However,
Correct?
and I'm not, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Right.
However, I'm not sure, you know, how popular some of the members of this select board are, but if, you know, if we didn't put, you know, that the selectmen approved this, that might make more people vote for it, okay?
Well, I
So,
think that's fine, if you're willing to do that, put that warrant article in with
Do
the
you have an
different amount.
Do you have an obligation to ask those people that signed that if you can withdraw it?
No, she doesn't have to do that.
She
No,
doesn't
because
have
I'm
to,
not
but-
we're really not technically withdrawing this, we're just changing the amount.
There is a motion
It's still
on the
going to
floor,
be written as is.
there is a motion on the floor that says we will raise the $90 per meeting with the assumption that there are 52 meetings, plus the $250
Yearly
membership fee.
Do you want me to just cut off one and you can use one?
I completely understand what you're saying. I think it's sort of, you already see the interest from the town so far, and we've kind of discussed maybe some possible changes, but since you are agreeing, I think we should go this route.
If
That's what I
there is
think.
any money
Yeah.
left over from having raised too much, and 3 hours should be enough, I would think.
Hope so.
If there's any money left over, it goes back into our unexpended fund balance. And could conceivably be, if there is a sufficient amount left over, be used to reduce the taxation when you do it another year.
So do you want me to
Right.
cut this off and you can just use that?
I would say cut it off and give it to Linda, because she has all the warrant articles now.
So that you're gonna put it in, the amount is going to be 4,600, you said?
930.
Okay, so I'll give you this, Linda, I'll cut it off,
Thank you.
49.30.
tape it on your forehead.
Somehow, the wording should include not spending it if there's no meeting.
that's right, I would say up to
I'm on that.
52 weeks.
Well, when you raise and appropriate, you're raising and appropriate that amount.
But
It
it
gives
would-
you the authorization to spend, doesn't mean you have to spend it.
It just
Right,
out,
it's an
appropriating money
authorization,
could be
exactly.
used.
What?
It's an authorization,
Yes.
yes.
But I would put in up to 52 weeks,
What's that do for us?
just in case.
Because, DRA is gonna read that, and they're gonna say, we wanna raise and appropriate up to, 49.30, and DRA is gonna say, I gotta set a tax rate, what do you want for a number? I want a number.
I have a question, do you have legal counsel check your
Yes, we do.
warrants as well as
Yeah.
DRA?
Always have to my
Okay.
knowledge.
All right,
DRA is gonna say, I gotta have a particular number to set the tax rate.
What if we left out the calculation?
you can't.
You have to?
I withdraw my
necessarily.
suggestion, we'll make it 52 weeks if we don't spend it. You know, if you
need
wanna come in
authorization
on
of
Christmas
$30
Day
per
and
hour.
have a meeting,
They wanna.
Andrew, if you wanna, or if you're gonna come and
No, probably just
videotape
leave
on
it.
Christmas
What was your
Day.
question, Linda?
As long as there's a potluck or something.
That's a good
Is,
idea.
why don't we just put the total amount,
And go through
1,930?
it. And not put the
Instead of
$30 per hour.
Putting the hourly
Oh, I
rate.
wasn't, I was just doing the calculations to you.
No, she
Okay.
was making a suggestion of, instead of including in it the $30 per hour or the minimum of 2 hours, just leave that out completely and keep the total amount in there.
I think that makes complete sense. The
Yes.
only reason I actually, Donna and I discussed that specific wording was because Penny Baker TV. So if I was gonna do it, or Penny Baker TV was gonna do it, the wording is more so to cover Penny Baker TV, because their minimum is 2 hours. Even if we were here for an hour,
Oh.
they would be charged for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You would have to charge for at least 2 hours.
I'm gonna encourage you to do it.
I'm happy to at this point. I think we're trying to word it appropriately, so if I were to do the live streaming
So I wanna make
or
sure.
the recording, we still also have the ability to give the recording to Penny Baker TV so they could broadcast it actually on TV, in addition to being online.
Right.
I gotta ask you how I get to this afterwards, because I tried to find the one from last week and I couldn't find it.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll make sure. How
How about
about
YouTube, exception one more select board meeting?
I will send
It's
I'll send a direct link to the YouTube page directly to Linda,
Okay.
and then I don't know, maybe if folks would like, they can just subscribe and get notified anytime anything shows up.
Can you
I
subscribe to
put
your
that on
channel?
the town
Oh, I
website.
didn't see
You can. I don't know if you did or not.
Keep in
I
mind,
haven't, I didn't know you could.
Okay.
keep in mind that this warrant article, like any other warrant article that has a figure in it, can be modified on the floor of the town meeting.
Exactly.
So I don't want you to think that we didn't do good faith by telling you we will support this and then have it drop down later at the town meeting for some reason.
Understood. No, I appreciate it. We will appreciate it.
May I just, there is a motion on
Yes.
the table. May I read what I have?
Go ahead.
And see if this is good? Just, the select board approved, to increase the original petition to $4,930, calculated $90 per night. And we can do, this is just for the minutes, up to 52 weeks, plus 250 membership fee, and the town will write the warrant article.
Okay, now that's okay for the motion we just made, but it's not okay for the warrant article.
No,
Okay.
the warrant article, do we have to put that in the minutes exactly?
No,
No, so I will, the warrant article
let's
is,
just say approve
Donna's
the
gonna
warrant.
give that to me, and I will eliminate the
Mhm.
calculation.
The
just
gist of the
put a
motion
total
was-
amount.
The gist of the motion was that we will cover 3 hour, up to 3 hours, or on an average of 3 hours, I don't know how that'd work out, but 3 hours, each meeting night for 52 weeks, plus an additional, membership fee.
Right, so I'll put that in the minutes, so we have that at least.
But I think Donna's got the motion just the way it should have to be read, with the number changed at the top, that's the only thing I think it needs to be
And then we'll
changed.
put the hours in, we'll
Right.
take away the hours and the minimum of 2 hours.
Yeah,
We'll blacken that out.
That's
basically what
fine.
I'm
Okay.
saying.
I expect that DRA will see all these minutes, we'll pass it to them and they, yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call the question on this particular motion.
Okay.
Second. If you want a second.
I think we just have to call the question. I'm not sure.
So my,
I vote
Wait
yes.
a minute,
they,
I call the question so that, to vote on it right now.
oh, because you made the motion, Palmer made the motion.
Yeah, but anybody can call the question. I feel we've discussed this
Yep.
enough. I think
Okay.
we've given everybody a chance.
yes,
Okay.
And-
now on to the next.
Well, we got to
Okay.
vote on
I'm
this.
sorry.
Donna's got one more too, I think.
Okay.
Hold on. Okay, so I called the question, and
Pamela voted yes, I voted yes.
I vote yes. And the motion carries.
And you will see the actual wording that the selectmen come up with, and we can change it because we did it. That's
Okay.
the difference that's
Yeah.
going on here. If you get a petition, just stuck with the wording. If it's wrong, DRA says, I don't like this, how it goes.
Understood.
But they can vote, they can change the amount at the town meeting.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And I have a second one, last but not least. Petition for warrant for the highway department. By petition of 2% of the eligible voters of the town of Wentworth, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 for a third full-time hired person to be expended by the highway department for such purposes deemed necessary by the road agent. And I have 20 signatures on this one.
You have a question?
Can I make a comment before you folks say anything?
No.
I know what you're gonna say, but, I think what John and I discussed already, was we wanted to make sure that it, even though technically there's a line item, I think, in the budget
It'll have to
for it, we just wanna make sure that it, basically,
It's the-
that does not get changed, basically.
Yes.
That it,
Linda, under road third person, how much is computed there now in the warrant article for highway?
I would have to get it.
That number has gotta come out.
Paul, do you know what it is? No, it's just, for highway employees, if you hold on a second, I'll bring it up.
Yeah,
It's,
I don't think you broke it down between,
I didn't, that's not how it was ever done, so I just,
You just showed an increase.
because it says highway employee, that's all, it's employees is what it says. So the highway employees was $87,590.
Okay, so 40,000 has gotta come out of that if it's gonna be in a separate warrant article.
Mhm.
That means that that warrant article, as it's presently written, will just simply subtract 40,000,
Finally understand.
So,
alright? Jeff,
I have a question about the petition, maybe you guys can clarify. So of that 40,000, is that strictly salary, or is it salary and insurances? How does that operate?
good question.
so I'm guessing that would be salary. And I did come up and talk to Deb Velk about what it would cost for insurance and everything else. And it just happens that I do have the paper. I believe in 2019, and I'm just gonna use estimates, so we didn't know exactly how much the guy had made. So, $40,000, an employee making $45,000 will approximately cost $45,000, approximate number. I'm using
Salary.
numbers less or more, just so we don't. So we are looking at, we're looking at an approximately $52,000.
7,000 more, you saying?
Approximately. I mean, it's hard, I'd have to run the numbers, but
The 7,000 is FICA and that stuff, or what else is it included?
Every insurance possible.
It doesn't include insurance at that rate.
that is including insurance, workman's comp, that is included everything.
Insurance alone is gonna be around $8,000.
It's about $1,000 a month if it's a family.
It's not a family.
Okay.
But I'm just, those are the numbers that I was given.
Alright, are those numbers in your budget at the present time? The one you presented to us,
No, because those numbers have never been in my budget. Those numbers don't, in fact, when I came in and talked to Deb about this, I think I asked you and then I talked to Deb, is that right, or vice versa? So I talked to Deb and she said, workman's comp, she's like, it's cheap. I mean, comparatively, she's like, it's really cheap, like workman's comp and all that insurance for town and municipalities is cheap. And I asked her what cheap was, she printed me this out. So basically, for every $10,000, basically, it's gonna cost the town about $1,800.
yeah, but you see my point. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, the point that I think I was trying to make was, if we petition with that article for the 40,000,
You're gonna cover it.
you're not gonna cover if that person wants health insurance or any of the above.
Right.
So we need to look at that to be fair to not only the road agent in discussing further.
Keep in mind that what we're discussing here right now is not final, it's just a suggestion for insertion.
Right.
That's
We're
right.
hearing a hearing on the 10th, and that can all change.
So, I'm not sure how you would put that in any sort of petition, because nobody knows how much you're gonna make a year. Nobody knows. Well, overtime is definitely not guaranteed, certainly not this year for people.
But by that petition, if you put 40,000 in, that's all you're gonna expend.
That's all you're gonna be
Yes.
able to spend.
So, what I'm saying is, in the budget, in the past budgets, that $40,000 line item has never included insurances and stuff. That is strictly employees' salaries.
Right, the insurance has come under the administrative budget.
That's
and
right.
I
Right.
have to.
But you've got to budget it, and even though it's under administrative, you've
But
got
it
to
will,
budget
it's
it.
already budgeted,
But-
right?
No.
Not
It's not.
administrative under me, it's administrative under
I
them,
understand.
but I can't budget it in my account.
No, but what you've got to tell Linda is, in order to do the municipal budget, is, I'm going to have a third employer, and therefore they are going to want insurance, and therefore you've got to include their insurance in the municipal
In the
budget.
municipal budget.
You know, that's where I fell short. I did not do that.
Unless you want to hire them with no insurance.
So
Well,
I'm going to.
I mean, you never know, I mean, somebody might come here, their wife has insurance, or their husband has insurance, I
And
might find
you're,
a woman to work with me.
you're helping us write the handbook, and you know that 32 hours gives benefits. 32 hours gives benefits.
So we don't know where those numbers are at, I guess.
We do not know what those numbers are. When you put them in a warrant article, you're taking a shot in the dark. And
So what do you recommend for the price? Would you put this on, given as a warrant article?
I hate to even mention it, 48,000.
Well,
If you want the full-time 40 plus the 7 or 8,000 you're talking about here, it's gonna take that much extra for insurance just alone.
Well,
Yeah, yeah, but
first
whose
of all-
budget does that go in? It doesn't go in mine.
may I just
The
say
8,000 will go under the municipal budget for insurance, and the 40,000 will bring yours.
No, may I say something? First of all, is not going to be able to hire until March, until
Right.
after the meeting.
Right.
There's 3 months gone. We have 3-month waiting, is it a 3 months waiting period to get
Okay,
insurance?
90 days.
Good point, good
So
point.
so we have
Right.
6 months of no benefit. So even if you took the family plan, that's $6,000 and throw another.
I don't know if you're supposed to.
So if you look at this in quality, 40,000 gets you a full year, 30,000 will get you 3/4 of the year.
No, I'm saying this is what to put in the budget.
So basically, that warrant article, if it ever passed, it would just be put in my account to spend.
It would not, it
The
would have to be
wages
spent
would,
on a
the
hired person.
insurance wouldn't.
Right, I would have to change my budget if the budget here.
Yes, she would have to change her budget some,
If the
because I
budget
have no
here
idea what
to
those
include
numbers
it.
really will
All you're
be.
doing is changing the name of $40,000. He's already got 40 in there.
Mhm.
Then take 40 out and say, oh, we're gonna use this 40 instead.
Keep in
The
mind,
overall budget's still gonna be the same if you put it, add 40 one place and take it out another place, regardless of the insurance thing.
but when the accountant looks at our books, they wanna know what it was spent for to some extent, whether it was insurance or wages.
Right, but just the overall thing, why are we taking money out of his and putting it in something else, basically? You're gonna end up with the same amount
Yet
of
the
money.
bottom line is going to be the same.
It's voodoo economics.
No, the bottom line is going to be an increase for the insurance, because I did not
Right,
budget.
right, but his is going
So-
to
Right,
be
but
the
that's
same.
his
Overall,
You're
right,
right.
his
His
will
will
stay
be
the
Yeah,
same,
that's what I mean.
but the overall budget is going to be increased by approximately $6,000.
Right, for the insurance.
And keep in mind, there's another thing that I don't think I've ever heard done, but when you put $40,000 into a budget, it does not dictate exactly where that money will be spent.
Even if it says
For a third person,
for a third, yeah.
yeah, it doesn't, okay,
It says for a third full-time hired person to be expended by the highway department for such purposes deemed necessary by the road agent.
if it doesn't say insurance in there or does anything and could rule things out, you can't use it for what it wasn't intended for.
Okay, you can't use it for anything else other than for, is that what
That's
you're saying?
what it's saying,
Yeah.
that's what
For
you're saying.
employee wages,
Right.
which, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Probably gonna be a hot topic at the town meeting anyway, so.
Well, I'd like to diminish that
I know,
a number of
that's why.
times, because we got 20 some odd articles already. Jeff, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I just, I sit back and I look at this and I say, okay, where's the trust factor here? And that's what this is about. It's a trust factor, let's be honest. So, you know, as somebody who's lived in this town all my life, I do trust the select board to do the right thing. So if we're out here saying, hey, we want a third person, I believe that the select board would head in that direction. That's just my opinion. And I can tell just by the feel of other people out in here and outside, that that's not the way they feel. That's not their opinion.
I guess my ultimate question again is, what do you want the warrant article to read? Or do you want the selectmen to leave the budget the way it was presented? And let them deal with it at the town meeting?
I think it would be better to give these people peace of mind, to know that it's gonna go towards a third hire. Because in the past, it's shown that there has not been a discrepancy,
So that
whether
says
it's higher.
40, so that says 40,000, right?
Yes,
So, on that basis then, the warrant article, which is known as the road agent's budget, has got to be diminished by 40,000 because it's already in there. And that warrant article will raise 40,000 at a different place in the warrant articles, and it'll be put back into the budget in another place that says third person.
Can I make one other suggestion?
Yep.
That the town municipal budget shows an increase of some number for health benefits?
yes.
Should that be something amended, for this petition for the warrant article at the town meeting? Or no? I mean, the money, appropriating money like within the municipal budget.
If you give
For that.
15 minutes per warrant article, and we've got 25 of them, we got 6 hours of meetings. So I ought to try to finalize as much as you possibly can before you get to the meeting, otherwise half the people that are gonna be voting on some of those last articles have already left. I like Jeff's idea, I don't know, if you're gonna include the 40,000 and it has the potential for insurance, then the insurance should be in there someplace,
Alright,
even if you don't use it.
can I say something else?
Yes,
Okay, so you've already budgeted apparently for a third full-time employee? In your budget?
Yes.
If that's the case, that municipal money should technically already be there allocating whatever insurance monies and that sort of thing.
He didn't put insurance in, I don't think.
Well, no,
He just did
I
say-
didn't put insurance in, but I'm gonna speak, and I don't want the selectmen to take this personally. I had plenty of money in my budget last October, I had 60 some odd thousand. And the selectmen were not for me having a third person. So my issue with this is, just because I have that money in my budget and it gets voted in at a town meeting, does not mean the selectmen are gonna let me have a full-time third person. That's my personal opinion, and again, it comes back to trust, and you gave me a part-time third person, you took it away a month and a half later, so
I think this is just a good thing to have in place on the warrant.
that's just my
Just
personal
for this
opinion.
year, because it'll keep everybody peaceful.
I think even more so, to build off of what Donna just said, everybody at the town meeting are going to see this warrant article, or they're gonna be able to, this is all, so they're all gonna be aware of this, they're gonna be able to give input if they'd like to on it. And I think you'll ultimately see, the support.
You'll
of the
give
people
people
for
the
it.
say, you'll give the town the say of whether or not they think a third person is important.
So, I'm still back to the question. My instruction to Linda is going to be, correct me, my instruction to Linda is going to be, take $40,000 out of the road agent's main budget back at warrant article 4 or 5,
Yes.
and add this warrant article, which raises and appropriates $40,000.
So they know that
It's
what it's for.
take it out of one place, put it in another place. Keep in mind the fact
Yeah, Article 4.
that the town at the meeting in March can choose to alter either one of those two numbers, the way they see fit.
They can vote it down pretty easily too, and then I'm SOL again.
So that means you're going to approve this, you're going to approve that petition and write the warrant article.
We don't have any choice to,
No, that's gonna be as is.
we don't have any choice but to receive this if it's given. If it has the right number of signatures of residents in the town, we must accept the petition.
Yes. The other one is a different.
The other one
Yeah,
was,
that's-
the other one was temporarily withdrawn.
Yes, I'm gonna give you I'm
Alright.
gonna cut that off, and I'm gonna
Alright.
give you what it should say.
So I think we're good on that.
Okay.
Now, I still got another question. So far what I said, 40,000 off of 4,
Right.
40,000 on a new warrant article.
Mm-hmm.
What about the insurance?
Didn't we discuss that?
That's gonna be added into the budget. No,
Town municipal budget,
town municipal budget.
which is where it comes from to begin with, correct?
That could be added to the town municipal budget, which it probably should have been before
Okay.
anyway.
If it was already
Should have been
allocated,
Before anyway,
It
but
should
you
not have
had
been
it
allocated.
in
If
there.
well,
How do you feel it's been allocated?
Paul indicated he was already budgeting for this third employee.
Which was the 40,000?
Just
Right,
say,
so-
But not in
Just
reserve.
salary?
Just salary, yes.
But when he mentioned that, when you approved his budget for that amount for the employees,
Hmm.
then the municipal budget should have been increased
That's what
at
I'm
the
getting
same
at.
time.
That's-
well, I told you, I overlooked.
So this is what I'm
And then, no,
hearing.
that's completely fine. I
Yeah.
think we wanna make that point that that needs to be changed.
So is
Yeah.
this something that we would do at the budget hearing?
Mhm.
Do you know what the warrant article number is for the road department? That's what I can talk intelligently.
No.
It's either 4 or 5, right? Alright, so as I hear it right now, 40,000 is coming out of the warrant article 4 or 5,
Okay. I
4.
will- It's 4.
It's for,
4 in total. $40,000 is going to appear in a warrant article right here.
Mhm.
$8,000 is going to be added to the municipal budget, like all the other insurances. I said 8,000, I don't know what the number is.
It's more than that, I
No, I
guarantee
think
you.
it's less. It's,
Linda's
All
gonna
of the
find,
insurances,
Linda's
You
gonna
have-
find the
No,
number
no,
for us
just
for
there
another
are
week.
several.
Just for this one, Palmer, just for this one.
Yes, but there's more than one insurance.
Right, but they're gonna increase it by that, because she had not foreseen that this should have increased this one.
In the meantime, for next week, we got time, we're doing good. Next week, Linda's gonna do the best she can to find out what she thinks that insurance will cost and add it to the municipal budget.
My
And we
question,
can't- And we can't get any better than that.
my question is, you've been talking about the budget, has the select board approved my budget?
not yet at the
The,
meeting.
the town gets to approve your budget or not.
We have not altered your budget until just now with the $40,000.
Right, and when I came in that day, we had to take some money out of other, for the warrant articles I had.
That- you were satisfied with that, right?
Oh, yeah, no, I was,
Paul came in and talked to me for, I don't know, probably half an hour
yeah.
about, oh, that's a long call story, isn't it? About, he had $80,000, we wanted a rate. 4,000 was coming out of the equipment fund, and the rest of it was coming out of,
Right, but the major thing that we talked about was the paving of Red Oak Hill.
yes.
And you and I kicked around the idea, and you said you were gonna talk to the other selectmen.
Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. It's simply what I talked to you about.
Okay,
No finalization.
Okay. I'm guessing that'll all take
The
place. on Friday.
finalization he's talking about basically is this. You wanna raise $135,000 from carrying Red Oak Hill. You're gonna take $45,000 out of capital reserve fund and raise the rest of it, which is $90,000 in taxation. There is an option.
Yep.
Based on how much money is in the capital reserve fund, of almost taking all of it out of the capital reserve fund. And there has been information thrown at me left and right about the PDIP funds, that some of our capital reserves were in, and the unreliability of keeping the money safe in those funds. It might be the best thing to do is take it all right out.
And the only thing I said, Francis, is we have other roads in
Yeah, I know
town
you-
that
I
need
know you-
attention.
Yep.
I'm not saying this year, but.
So I didn't change a thing except the allotment of the monies in the different lines.
Yep, no, I'm
You were
good with
you were
that.
happy with that, I thought.
Okay,
You're only supposed to have so much in a capital reserve fund, correct? Is that-
No, you can have all you want, but, we just discovered that it's not necessarily prudent.
Your general fund.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So we can modify that to still know how much money has to be actually raised in taxation. The way it's written right now, it's gonna be $90,000 in new taxes.
well, yeah, because 50 of that would be in my budget, right, exactly.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are we
So
clear on it?
there's your warrant, petition
All right, I'm
warrant.
gonna turn around and give this to Linda, because she's the one who's gonna type it in. Let me see if I get any criticism, but right now, I haven't read this except in passing.
You didn't sign it?
Good one, Paula.
There are
Better
no,
question is, did you?
there are no spelling errors.
I see no reason why PRA would have any problem with that.
Oh my gosh. You get enough?
So we're going to make a motion that we accept the petition and it will go on order.
Except we don't have any choice.
We don't need
don't
to
have
have
any
that.
Oh, okay, so
don't
it
have
doesn't
a
need,
choice.
it doesn't need a
No.
motion?
No.
No.
Okay.
When somebody goes out
The
with a petition
signatures
for the right
said-
number of signatures on it from residents in the town, we do not have a choice but to accept it by law.
Yeah, the whole point was to force their hand.
You could have a petition saying only black dogs are allowed in Wentworth.
Now,
Really?
there's
I didn't know that.
negative side to that sometimes. Somebody sees, if it's by
Don't like that.
petition, they'll think it's a special interest group.
Oh, okay,
And sometimes they will take that as a negative.
understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think we're all set.
Appreciate your time.
Thank
We
you.
do need to do
Nice
it.
to see you.
We do need to look at those warrant articles again and finalize them, because
This off.
February 10th is awful close.
2 weeks from yesterday.
George?
Back on the current use, I looked on the tax thing, so you ought to review that, because one of their lots went way down in value for last year's tax. One has a building and land.
On this particular one I
Yeah, that
mentioned?
Boucher thing,
Really?
yeah.
Another thing I didn't see there either, but they were, that application was putting all 84.6 into current use. So any portion of that 84.6 is not in
Yeah, I
current
know you
use.
do.
They're supposed to have a map showing where the land not in current use is located.
So evidently they did, they put, maybe one of the lots in current use, because it went to 56,000 down to, I'll look it up, like $1,200 or something.
We gotta research this because it's been 13 months since the original application.
I will.
Yeah, 42 acres is valued at $1,226.
What?
Pays to be a landowner.
We have one more issue that, oh, gosh. Some of you have been here before and heard about the cell tower issue. I came and spent more hours than I want to admit, making phone calls to learn something about including calls at home. They're asking us again to do something. I bet in my call, I got, well, you better call this person, and that person said you better call this person, and that person, I don't know how many, probably 3 or 4 or 5 of them. And I haven't followed up on it since, because I got such a runaround then. My basic input from the Municipal Government Center is, we are not responsible for enforcing this. And that's about the only thing I can add to this. Have you read it?
No, well, I have, but let me do it again. Enforcing what?
Isn't that part of that mandated?
It's part of the mandate through FEMA FirstNet,
There was a
so you're not gonna do anything with that anyways.
There's a cell tower on Elbrook Hill in the process of being erected.
Right.
It is erected on a subdivision. The subdivision has covenants. One of the covenants is no further subdivision, and the second covenant is no mobile homes. Neither of which,
Address cell towers.
that's the rest of cell towers, so, what do you do? They don't want it there. They're trying to say that it was, because it says no mobile homes, it was complying, it was residential intention.
It's a civil thing.
Yeah.
They gotta do their own lawyers, and they gotta, I got as far as the Federal Communication Commission. And then I got nobody there, so.
It's government.
And a little bit of background on that particular, I believe that particular tower, that's part of the FirstNet program, which is your emergency services program, which has been bid off by AT&T. It's a statewide thing.
You think so?
I believe so. I
I
might be
got
wrong on that.
I got the impression it was private because I actually spoke to the person.
It's a private individual
Oh,
that's
okay.
supplying the property, but the tower would be first set up for the FirstNet program.
If you don't
Yes.
mind, I think a lot of towers out there, people offer up their land, and get paid back by, the companies that,
Who hangs their hat on?
that hang their hat on it, that sort of thing. I think that's, quite a bit of the time how actually towers are even erected. Some are, yeah.
ITW is the name.
If I may, I think the chief, a couple of meetings ago, explained, oh, here he comes. Chief?
Yes,
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
I didn't know which
Why
chief we
are
were
we
talking
chief?
about.
We're talking about the
The cell tower.
cell towers on Ellsworth Hill.
And you explained over here at one of the meetings, where you felt this cell tower, because Chief Ames just talked about how he thinks this cell tower is part of this FirstNet program. And I don't know whether that's what, all I know, Chief, is you were standing over here when you explained it to us, what you understood that tower was gonna be part of.
That's part of my understanding as well, that is what that's gonna be. They're capitalizing on that, they're going all up Route 25, 25A, this part of Grafton County. And that hopefully is going to assist us hugely in communications.
And that's just not just a New Hampshire thing, that's a nationwide thing. For FirstNet.
So initially what happens there is it gives emergency services a redundancy in their communications. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, but the ones nearby, us saying they don't want it. And they bought into a subdivision
Yeah, that's,
Bad luck.
that's out of our
No.
control.
right. I don't know how the town gets involved in that. Well, you would.
Well, I did, I made several phone calls and got nowhere. I guess you'd have to say, if you don't first succeed, try again. Yes.
I did have something for the public comments when we get to that, just so you know, if you don't mind. I don't know how much more time you wanna spend on this one, but.
What was this one?
Where am I here?
Number one.
You were at old business on the next page.
Go ahead, you're over, John.
I have been doing some, sorry.
Okay.
I've been doing some research, on internet service providers. Me being, I've been a computer network engineer since 2007, so I've quite a bit of experience with, just, networks in general. And what I talked to a few people around town. I spoke to, one person that's very knowledgeable in, servicing Spectrum customers in town. And I believe that there's an issue with sort of economic development in town because we don't have a very good internet infrastructure in town. I think it's sporadic. When you're closer to the sort of the middle of town, there's not as much of a problem. But when you're talking about things like I've talked to a few different people up on Capitol Hill, significant problem. Nobody can work from home up there because they don't have the internet service that they really need to do that. So what I started doing was I started doing some research on trying to expand the internet service in town. I'm looking into probably reaching out to Spectrum, but I reached out to Consolidated Communications and understand that, so there's a town called Chesterfield in New Hampshire that's doing the exact same thing that I'm talking about. They're in their phase 2 of their project right now, and what they're doing is they have this partnership between the town and Consolidated Communications to basically take out this very low interest loan over a significant period of time to help build out this network infrastructure in town. Now, if you think about people working from home and that sort of thing, I work 100% from home. I'm paying $363 a month just for my internet. I can't do that on what the internet infrastructure is already at. I can't do that. You can't have a video web conference on, if you live on a house on Atwell Hill. You can't do it. So you really need to have that internet infrastructure built out even more. And there are companies that come through town that you can do that. It's just, we need to sort of, think about either spending the money or maybe looking at grants to help us to supplement that, I suppose. So I guess ultimately what I'm doing is, I want to make sure you folks know that I'm sort of doing some exploratory research, and I'd like to continue to do that. And I guess I'd like your input as well at the same time.
Do it,
Yeah?
do it.
Does this involve what I consider to be the controversial 5G stuff?
No, this actually has nothing to do with wireless technology. This is all physical network infrastructure that would be going through town.
I'm just nervous
Yeah.
about, sometimes there's 2 or 3 sides to every story, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's physical network infrastructure. We're talking, at least with Consolidated Communications, which they bought out Fairpoint, which used to be Verizon Fios. So they have a fiber network that goes through multiple points in the town. That's why I was able to get what I have on 25A. But that is a commercial grade fiber optic circuit there.
What you got, right?
Right. So it's either you have basically nothing or you have like the cream of the crop. What I'm basically trying to figure out is, can we get something in the middle? That's sort of what I'm.
That was I think you answered my question. I pay about $50 a month for my internet service. I can watch movies and so on.
That's cheap.
How come you have to pay $350, but it's the Cadillac?
It's the quality and the bandwidth availability, I suppose. You have when you get internet service, you have your download bandwidth and your upload bandwidth. What the best that you can do in the vast majority of town is typically a little bit higher on the download, but hardly anything on the upload. And for doing video, you have to have both. So when I talk about somebody working remotely in town, you really need more than what is offered. The infrastructure that you have for, say, I think it's Consolidated town. It's absolutely completely antiquated and very old technology.
Are any of the wires in town of such quality as to allow for the Cadillac to travel?
It's very interesting because so Consolidated Communications actually has this fiber backbone that goes through this whole region that provides connectivity to towers like the FirstNet towers. These like major communications, like whether it's cell towers or other radio communications and stuff like that, a lot of the internet communications that they may need going in and out are provided by companies like Consolidated Communications. So it's already there. We just need to build it out and I suppose we need to, work together with these companies to figure out if we can do something like that.
See if you know what I'm talking about, because I don't know exactly. There's a certain feed line that goes up Cape Moonshine Road, then goes down Atwell Hill Road and only gets about as far as what used to be my cousin's Buffalo Farm. Coming in the other way is a totally different service. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not 100% sure the internet service providers that cover the road. I know that part of it's Consolidated, and I think I doubt you can even get Spectrum up there. I can't get Spectrum where I am. It's basically you have to be closer to the center of town or maybe main roads. You can't even go up a half a mile up 25A and get anything with Spectrum. So.
When you live in the mountains, that's what you expect, I guess.
But we don't have to. We could do more.
I thought the federal government had money allotted to get high-speed internet to rural America.
They do have a grant program, the federal government does. I think it's actually technically the USDA, which is interesting. But I think that's through, there's some type of deal with the FCC at the same time. I'm not sure exactly, but there is, I can't remember the exact website offhand, but I was on it earlier. There is a grant program out there to help with building out a broadband internet backbone or broadband internet service for consumers in areas where it really is not widely available.
I don't know how to ask the question, but here goes. What do you have as a need? Okay, I have a $50 cable service,
Right.
out of my telephone service. I think the whole thing is $69 or something like that.
Mhm.
I can watch movies on my television set coming in through my computer with the internet. And there's no jumping, there's no jerking around, it's smooth. What do you need that's different than that?
So when you start talking about what you have versus what I have,
Okay.
there's a couple different things. One of them is latency, which is basically how fast can I get my request out to, say, Netflix, and how fast can I get that back? That's one problem. If it's really slow, I'll give you an example. Satellite, they tell you they give you quite a bit of bandwidth. I think that's upwards of 25 megabits per second. But their latency, the speed of getting it, going to the satellite and back, is absolutely atrocious. The worst thing you could possibly do on the face of the planet. Besides, like, I don't know, trying to hire a pigeon to carry your data.
So you're looking at your speed and bandwidth, that's the problem?
Right, right. So what I have to do for me to carry video conferences, for me to do multitasking at the same time, I can't do a video conference and talk at the phone at the same time, or basically have a video and talk on the phone. And say somebody else needs to make a phone call, absolutely won't happen. And for the vast majority of people in town, that's honestly going to be the same way.
Who around you know of knows how to write the grants that you're proposing to,
I have zero idea, but I have I sent a message off to the federal government regarding a grant to get more information on it. So I'd at least, if I can at least get the communication going, I can, just move forward. I mean, I have that one individual that's very knowledgeable as far as spectrum in town. There's been people that have not moved to town because of the fact that they do not have something readily available so they can work remotely. So,
any
anyways,
questions?
that's it.
Any questions from different sources on different things that you might dream up? If there's no more work to be done, I will entertain.
No, select board comments.
You got any comments?
I have a question. And are we gonna go into non-public after this?
That's what I'm waiting for.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so, you mentioned a couple of weeks ago that you had put together a report from the Board of Selectmen for the town, booklet. Can I get a copy of that from you?
Whoa, okay, you hit me.
And I hit you, I'm sorry.
What are you looking for?
A copy of the Board of Selectmen report you had drafted for the town report.
Oh, yes, I sent you one. I'll send it again.
I'm sorry, there's just so many emails I get in the course of the day, it's just that I can't keep up. Sorry.
You got one because you commented.
I did,
And
and you didn't like my comment.
I didn't change anything. I thought both of you would add to what I'd already started. I'll send you another copy of it.
See, I'm a tree farmer, I like paper,
Okay.
I like paper.
Every different department, Jeff, you got yours in?
Yes.
Every different department has a report they're supposed to submit to the selectmen that brags about their department, if you will, or gives the town information about the individual departments. And we're still in the process of receiving all of those, and we've got to start receiving them because very shortly after the meeting of the 10th, we need to start providing information to our publisher over in Lebanon to get things in the book form that you see every year. Any other comments? You got the title page of the book coming.
Linda, did that picture ever
Yes,
get here?
I did get that, yes.
I reduced it down to just one, so that's your choice.
The picture on the front cover of the,
Yeah, I showed you a picture of the town hall.
I didn't see pictures of that hall.
You didn't see a picture?
No. I'll prove it anyway.
Okay. It's a little small building out in back, there's been some discussion about.
The L?
Is this non-public, like a continuation of last week?
No,
Oh.
no. It's a question of what we wanna do.
Yep.
More anything else, and, quite frankly, I don't know what we wanna do.
Do you want a motion to go into non-public now?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we go,
Well, do we want to end the general meeting?
No, we have to do that afterwards.
Okay.
excuse me, Chief.
Yeah, I just wanna say one thing. First, when I was abrupt with you gentlemen earlier, I apologize for that. But I was under the impression, or it felt like you were kind of attacking that group, which should be your core group in any of those emergency funding series. And I've done this before several times, you know, working with a group to come with information to the select board. So if I came across abrupt, I apologize for that, but we did need to get something moving on this.
If I may, Chief, it goes with the job. As Super Chicken said when I was watching Saturday afternoon cartoons 50 years ago, I knew the job was dangerous when I took it. And we get impassioned, okay? It's part of the process. I get a little excited and I'm starting to feel a little pain here, so it's all part of the process. Chief, I respect you, what you do. I respect what the town road agent does. It's not an easy job, what we're doing out there. It's definitely not an easy job being a selectman. And to have these two young people here every week, it's so wonderful to see them here every week. They haven't turned away yet, but, and this is good, look, I've been to other select board meetings in other communities, it's all part of the process. So, God bless you, Chief, I thank you for what you're doing. God bless the road agent, I thank him for what he's doing. George Morrell, he's a numbers person, and I appreciate what George does. Andrew, thank you, but I've said too much, Mr. Chairman, we need to go on to.
Well, speaking of it, all on the same note, I assumed a certain role, I have a certain responsibility, and I don't like to delegate it to somebody else and then have them to blame for what I didn't do. That's just basically it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Go ahead.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, at 7:43 PM, that we go into non-public session regarding a personnel matter pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, small b, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
Yeah.
And so I make the motion. Palmer, did you second the motion?
I did.
And Francis, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
He votes, he needs to
Palmer, how